and at the left Alfred Blokland. And the agenda, we have 3 items. What is the Dark NOC, the current state of the NOC, and the future, how to get there to the Dark NOC. So, the NOC. The current NOCs have 3 main tasks, which are monitoring the network health, monitor capacity, and monitor and detect anomalies. So basically, a NOC these days is event-driven. When something happens, an event happens, then the NOC takes action, and these actions will be converted into tasks to other departments of the organization, of the operator, if you like. For example, a task will be sent to field services or to the capacity department, etc., etc. So the NOC basically is event-driven. And what are the key challenges of the NOC of these days? There are several key challenges. For example, the complexity of the network increases and decreases. This is due to technologies that these are added to the network, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and at the horizon we can see already 6G. Several vendors have their equipment in the network, which makes it that the multi-vendor network is also complex to handle all the different data types and data streams. And then, of course, you have migrations and swaps in the network, which also have to done to be processed in a neat way. And you have, of course, some legacy infrastructure. You can't get rid of some legacy equipment since customers are still using it, and you can't just put things out strictly. Also, the data volumes in the network increase over time. You get more and more counters, more and more metrics you have to process, you have to take into account. Also, the elements increase in number. So there are more elements generating more alarms, more alerts. So you can get this symptom called alarm fatigue. So that is a challenge for the NOC. Then security. Over the years, more and more organizations and people are trying to hack networks and try stuff on the network. So security has to be kept in line with the network. Then customers expect now these days that a network is always and everywhere available. So an outage of several minutes or several hours is not accepted anymore. And a challenge is that the network, with all the complexity and the data volumes, should be flexible, because you have competitors as an operator and you want to be able to quickly roll out new services and new elements and stuff like that. So basically, these are the key challenges of the NOCs of these days and also in the upcoming years. To handle all this data and complexity, a new skill is required for tackling all these challenges, and the skill is called AI Ops. And AI Ops basically is a combination of working with data, big data, and do all kinds of things with data. And the thing is called machine learning. So basically, by focusing more on data and doing smart things with it, you will be able to tackle these challenges, which were mentioned in the previous slide. So, Dark NOC. This is our definition of Dark NOC. All ops-related processes and tasks are automated and done by algorithms and machines, so that the human intervention is not required anymore. And thus, the lights in the NOC can be put out, resulting in a Dark NOC. So now we will have a short poll. You can put your answer in the comments. What do you think about the Dark NOC? Is it an utopia? A, B, a hype? C, future? Sometime we will get there. Or D, is it yet a reality already? So please put your answer in the comment section. And then now my colleague Alfred will take over and do his part.
Thank you, Ad. Yes, so the current state, some of you may already know this, but it's a rather fractured landscape of tools at the moment. So we mainly see three big fractions here. So one is the equipment manufacturer SON solutions. So they provide SON solutions with their equipment. Usually it's part of the deal or it's an add-on. So these are focusing on software automatically managing their equipment. And as you can imagine, this is only for their equipment and working with their hardware. And most of the time, you cannot integrate this with other vendors' hardware. Then you also have the third-party SON solutions, and these are usually aiming at providing support for multiple vendors at once or one at a time, but usually also combined. And the third large fraction here is the in-house development automations, which of course arise because the other two do not provide full coverage or not the functionality they need, or they are lacking in some areas. Yes, thank you. No end-to-end. So, as I already mentioned in the previous slide, it's usually the tools are lacking in some areas or only covering a specific vendor's equipment type, or as we can see here, it's only targeted at parts of the network. So the mobile networks exist of or are part of a chain, and this is composed of the fixed network, the core network, and the RAN network, so the radio access part. And usually these tools are aiming at the RAN part or maybe the fixed part or the core part. Sometimes some overlap here, but in most of the cases they do not provide support for end-to-end orchestration or monitoring. So this is where the current tools are also lacking. And a big part of this is due to the fact that there's no single source of truth of all the data in the network. So this is mostly due to the fact there are a lot of manufacturers involved providing hardware in this whole chain, and they have limited support for open standards or no open standards. So it's very hard to combine all this data into a single source of truth. So a single platform where all the data is available in a structured format and in a similar format. So that's why it's very hard to get to those tools that provide the support for the whole chain, the whole network, the whole end-to-end spectrum of data in the network. Next slide, please. And this last bit about the current state is about more of the infrastructure. So in the old days, it used to be that all the equipment had its own hardware. So there was one piece of hardware with a database. There was one piece of hardware with some core functionality. There's a piece of hardware for some radio functionality. And currently, it is very much a mix of some dedicated hardware for very specific systems like databases or legacy software or legacy hardware. More and more virtual machines are used, and only the first steps are taken into the cloud native platforms. And to get this single source of truth and unification of the whole platform, I think you really need to move towards the cloud native spectrum of this infrastructure, because I think this is required to provide for the scalability needs and the capacity needs that is required for all the machine learning and AI that we want to do. All right.
Thank you, Alfred.
Yes.
Thank you, Alfred, for your words. So then now we get into the third part of this webinar. How to get there, how to put out all the lights in the NOC. So again, 3 steps need to be taken to get there. You have to work on the culture of data science. You have to do it step by step. One big bang holy grail solution is not available for the Dark NOC. At least it would not be very wise to do that. So do it step by step. And the third one is, like Alfred also already mentioned, work on the single source of truth, a central data repository in your organization. Culture of data science. So as an operator, to reach the state of Dark NOC, work on education and awareness at your personnel, at your colleagues, so that they are aware of the data that is available in the organization and can work with it. But then again, also make it easy to do training in this field, in this relatively new field of machine learning, AI, data processing, data science, and also provide access to tooling. It's very frustrating if you are aware of the possibilities, but don't have easy access to the tooling and training. Showcases, do small projects, work with data, share them with your colleagues, discuss them, learn from each other, and work from that. Also cooperate with other departments in the organization, also with third parties, maybe small data science AI companies. There are a lot of them these days because machine learning AI is very hot these days. So be open, work together, learn. And there's also an important one and also a challenging one. I know by experience in big organizations that the data is not siloed, meaning that the data of all departments, of all domains is available in one environment. So this is an essential part of the Dark NOC, because to deal with all this complexity, I was mentioning a few slides before this one, to deal with all the data, the way out of this is to do this, to craft a culture of data science. Also, with network equipment becoming more and more autonomous, the way of working changes in the NOC, because these days in the NOC the work is very network element based, restarting elements, tuning elements, monitoring elements, cells, antennas if you like, EOBs. But with network equipment becoming more and more autonomous, these elements will handle their own. And then in the NOC and at operator level, you have to think about how the network as a whole should behave. And it's more like orchestration. How do you orchestrate groups, areas, groups of elements instead of individual elements in the network? This is a nice picture of how not to do this. Your plan will be to get in a straight line from point A to B to the Dark NOC, but in reality it will be a very adventurous journey with setbacks and successes, etc., etc. And in the end, of course, you can reach the Dark NOC. But in the chat, I saw that not everybody is convinced that a Dark NOC is feasible in the future. But as you can see in this story, we think a Dark NOC is feasible in the future, somewhere, sometime. But it will take time. And like I said, a holy grail, a big bang deployment to get a Dark NOC is not feasible because the stakes are very high. Like in the self-driving car, the stakes are already very, very high. The self-driving cars have been promised for years now. Elon Musk has promised that the self-driving car will be available next year in his most recent TED talk, but still there are no self-driving cars mainstream at our ways. So the same will happen, the same holds for the Dark NOC. A lot of people, a lot of solution providers will claim that they can deliver it in a year or 2 years, but like the self-driving cars, it will take time. It has to be done step by step. You go from light to shadow, you put out a few lights, and then in the end, you can put out the final and the last light, and then you have a dark NOC. The key thing is you have to reduce the number of faults of events from the network, and this can be done by SON solutions. SON solutions are designed for self-organizing, self-optimizing networks, but also for self-healing. So this means that when SON becomes more and more mature and better and better and better, that the number of alarms, the number of faults, management data will decrease from the network. And on the other hand, in the NOC side, you have to process all the events and faults with automation, ML and AI. That was the slide about the AI ops figure, the combination of machine learning and big data. So these two factors are there to deal with all the complexity and the challenges of the NOC. Like I said, network elements become more and more autonomous, self-organizing, optimizing, plug and play if you like. So an operator has to think about how the whole network should behave in terms of how to divide traffic over areas, over cells, instead of single network entity level. Again, automate step by step. Try to get rid of the repetitive tasks, automate them by algorithms, by scripts, by third-party solutions in the NOC. And also some tasks will be very complex with this orchestration thing, configuring a lot of elements in one go. That is complex, and also you need algorithms and machine learning for this. And also work on smart ticketing, meaning that you want to prevent alarm fatigue for your engineers. They got a lot of tickets thrown at them, and with smart ticketing, you can bundle these events, bundle these alarms into prioritized, efficient tickets. This is a model for doing machine learning AI projects in your organization. This is for the engineers that want to do something with the data that's available in the organization. These are several steps to follow, and then you get nice results or nice insights. Also, like Alfred said, more and more hardware will be migrated to virtual functions in the network, which also is leading to more and more orchestration-like work. And then the last one is do it step by step. Normally, when you have automated something, you can do it in an open loop, meaning that there's still some human intervention in the process. And when the process is okay enough, and the human think that the process is safe and good enough, then you can close the loop and take out the human factor, and you have a fully automated process, step by step. These are some third-party SON solutions. We did some around on the internet. We will share the slides if you like, so you can take a look for yourself later on. Then the third and final part for the Dark NOC, the single source of truth, the central data repository. This is needed in your organization to keep all the SON solutions, the third-party SON solutions, maybe the in-house developed SON solutions, and all the automation processes, third-party in-house developed. To keep them in sync, you need a single source of truth, a central data repository. Most of the operators we've contacted are working on this in some way. Some do it in the cloud, some do it on-prem, some do it in a hybrid fashion. But this is an essential thing for Dark NOC. Of course, this single source of truth has to be vendor agnostic because you want to correlate and combine all the network elements from all the vendors in your network. High performance is also a thing because some processes, some automation processes, some solutions are near real time or online. So you need your data in your single source of truth environment on a 50-minute or hourly basis. And some processes are more offline-ish, so daily and weekly data is also necessary in your single source of truth environment. So you need some kind of automatic aggregation in your data repository. Cross-domain, also trivial. If you want to correlate and do end-to-end analyses, you need data of several domains in your environment: transmission, core, RAN, fixed, etc., etc. It should be open and flexible because this single source of truth environment is in the center of all your SON automation processes. So it should be easy to integrate with for third parties, but also it should be easy to access for your own engineers to do projects on it and work on automation. And of course, we provide such a solution. It's called OneOptic. Feel free to contact us if you want to know more about this fabulous solution. OneOptic is a single source of truth solution. But this is the final one, the conclusion. It will take time to put out all the lights. So we think that the answer of the poll is, it was, I guess, C, the future. We think it's the future, but it will take time. You have to do it step by step. With incremental improvements, there will be a mix of SON solutions and in-house developed automation processes. And the single source of truth, the SSOT environment, you have to start with it, and then you have to extend it over time, adding data sources to it. Go from open loops to closed loops, reduce the number of issues, etc., etc. And also, important thing is, many people think that automation and a Dark NOC should be 100% efficient, like in that all the tickets and everything will be done smoothly, and that no faults may be made. But then again, people, engineers, operation people also make mistakes. So a Dark NOC is already reached when the automated processes and the SON solutions are doing better than the humans that are now operating the NOC. But then again, humans will still be necessary in the future in the Dark NOC, not in the Dark NOC, because Dark NOC is of course dark and abandoned of people, but you need some kind of team of engineers that are able to take action when there are some issues. So it should be possible to intervene as a human, as an engineer, when the SON and automation fails. And it means also that when you are working on a Dark NOC, that you should take into account by design fail-safe mechanisms, that you are able later on to intervene if something happens and that goes not well. So for us, it's the future, the Dark NOC. Sometime in future, it will not be next year, but in the upcoming 10 years, it should be feasible to get the first Dark NOCs. So thank you for your attention. Call to action. Don't hesitate to contact us. In case of any questions, these are the contact details, and I'm happy to answer questions. Yeah, I see a question of Richard Frans about the time span when the Dark NOC will happen. Like I said, 5 to 10 years, then the shadow Dark NOCs will be there. And it will, of course, be a process in time. Other questions? Okay, Stefan, the question. So too much data and sources of data. Put them in one single source of truth, DB, or the database cluster, and throw AI at it is the IKEA. Is AI the solution? No, AI is not the solution, but AI will be an important part of the solution. In the end, humans, engineers have to do the real work and provide intelligence. But AI, machine learning, data science, so on, are all tools of reaching a dark NOC. That's the answer, according to us. You're welcome, Stefan. Exactly. Every step is an improvement. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's our main theme of this webinar is that it takes time. It is feasible in the end, but do it step by step. Like also with the self-driving car, I'm also convinced it will happen sometime. There will be self-driving cars, and we have to get used to the idea, but it will happen then.
Exactly, and it's not really a line. It's not really a border, but eventually, gradually, we will reach it. And like Ad said, it's already there when the system is on par or better than what we humans can reach in terms of efficiency.
Yeah, so the thing is, AI also makes mistakes in the end, but if the mistakes are less than humans make, then you're there. It's an improvement. Other questions? No more questions. Then I still want to thank the person who suggested to restart my Teams client, because that did the trick. Thank you again. You're welcome. Check. Okay. Then thank you all and have a nice day. See you later.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.